Hi Pratibha, how are you?
Good evening, sir.
Good.
How are you?
I'm good too. So Pratibha, I have your DAF with me, and you do you want a formal kind of a session, or do you want me to discuss issues
So discussion, I
on
think, would be
on
better.
on different issues? So
So may
the
I pen and paper?
yes, please.
Yes, sir.
So since you have quite a diversity in your DAF in terms of areas, your schooling is from Rajasthan and your hometown is in Uttar Pradesh.
Yes.
So you would need to prepare both these states very well. So Jodhpur specifically, the economy of Rajasthan, the geography of the Rajasthan, things cultural, the entire cultural aspect of Jodhpur. Same with Agra, the industries, the agriculture, the one district, one product of agriculture of Agra. Then the pollution issues with respect to Agra, uh, anything with respect to culture, not the obvious one, Taj Mahal. You can be asked at depth. The history of both these cities, both of Agra and of Jodhpur. From medieval times, whatever you can search about both the cities, you need to do well. Then economy on and geography of UP and Rajasthan, specifically on the investment issues, the investment summit that recently was concluded. So you need to be well aware on all these topics, because you will be asked both from economics and from political science because of your background. Then, since your father is a retired personnel from Indian Army, you should be in and out aware about Agnipath. You can be asked a critical question on Agnipath. So you need to prepare that well, and it has to be a bureaucratic answer. Don't get swayed by emotions. Don't get swayed by narratives. It has to be a bureaucratic answer with respect to the pension obligation. So you need to have that economic flavor into your answer. See, sir, this is the amount of pensions that are there, and then you need recruitment at the youth level, and then it prepares the society, the youth, for a future goal. So so although I mean, I'm just giving you ideas that, although we don't have conscription in India, but think of what conscription can bring about in terms of gentleman spirit, gentlewoman spirit. So both of them, and be neutral in terms of gender while talking about the Indian Army as well. So this, then one rank, one pension, although it's a dated issue, but still it can be asked. Then defense exports, defense imports. So a question can be asked on this, especially because we've been having these expos, defense expos that we've been having. So you need to read about it. What was this aero show all about? Indigenization. What have we done in indigenization? What needs to be done? So all of that you need to be well aware of. Then I came across that your father had served in DRC. So have a review of what was his capacity, what was the issues in DRC. I think in that time it was, there was this insurgency by this group that was there. So you need to be aware about what are the issues in Central Africa, just in case if they are flipping. Anyways, you have political science, so just in case that issue comes up, you should be well aware. Then, because of political science, you might be asked questions on US Ukraine war and who's winning the war. So it has to be a very diplomatic kind of an answer. So since your interview still has time, what I would expect is go through the spokespersons videos of diplomats, Indian diplomats and worldwide diplomats, especially Indian diplomats, how they've taken position, especially on tricky issues like non-voting. What do you call that? They did not vote against Russia. So how they have abstained and how they have justified their abstention. Then also on things like what we are doing in terms of Ukraine, that the era of war, or whatever Modi ji said. But you need to kind of, it should not be a coached answer. It should also have your own views. So this is what I feel. that they will be not asking you about what the government take is. So instead of just taking the government line that this is what the government has said, because I've seen a number of interviews, what people keep on doing is that this is what the government has said. You're just reading out what the newspapers have said. You have not formulated your own opinion. They are there to look for your opinion. What does Pratibha think about the entire issue? And it has to be at the level of diplomacy. So that's why I'm saying watch Jaishankar's videos, watch the India's diplomats videos, so that you get that mannerism, how they respond to critical questions, and how challenging critical questions. So you need to answer in that capacity. Then economics, you can have a tons of questions on economics. I can probably share a list with you, but you can you can note down certain things. Chapter 1 and chapter 2 of economic survey, budget should be done in and out. Every chapter of the economic survey, the first initial portion, the executive summary of it needs to be done well. So that is there. Then when you are answering question in economics, it's always a good practice to kind of say numbers, put numbers into perspective, but especially if you know the numbers. Since you are an econ grad, I think the video stopped, or is my connection poor? Yes.
Yes, I'm extremely sorry.
No,
sir. I
it
think
was a connection error from my side. Yeah. So
because even my internet connection got lost.
Achha.
I'm really sorry.
Well, it's okay. I think something went haywire at my end as well. So you can expect a barrage of questions on economics because of your background. So the executive summary of each particular chapter needs to be done well, and then prepare. And when you are answering question in economics, it's always a good practice to give numbers. For example, I'm pretty sure that you will be asked a question on employment because of the fact that you have development in labor studies. So if you are quoting without numbers, that's a problem. So I think there's a problem again. Oh yeah. So you need to know numbers, and you can take down certain numbers in the sense that what numbers do you need to prepare for? You need to prepare everything with respect to GDP. So what is the GDP right now? What is the size of GDP, current GDP, constant GDP, GDP deflator, all of these numbers. Inflation, WPI, CPI, the indexing of WPI, CPI, why is there a difference? Why the inflation was high? What has RBI done? What is monetary policy transmission? What is LAF? Repo rate and reverse repo rate is now replaced by standing deposit facility. So all of these measures, the measures taken by RBI, why is inflation high throughout the world? What is synchronized monetary contraction? So I'm going to send you a video of this particular. I'm going to send the video also of this particular GMeet. So all of these issues with respect to inflation needs to be covered, and everything is covered in the survey well. Then fiscal data. What is fiscal deficit? What is revenue deficit? What is primary deficit? And what is FRBM, what is our debt to GDP ratio, how are we reducing our debt to GDP ratio? All these things needs to be covered. Then coming to trade, why did India's currency depreciate so much, and what has been the performance of India's currency with respect to other currencies? The concept of near and rear, that needs to be done. Then how are we doing in our exports and imports, current account deficit, twin deficits, within the twin deficit, how much is our current account deficit, what is very important, what is our foreign exchange reserves. So usually these typical questions are asked, and then those rates of repo rate, reverse repo rate, you should also remember those. Then go to let's come to labor sector, labor and employment. So you need to know the matrix of what is our first of all this national periodic labor force survey, which is the supply side of the labor, and then you have quarterly employment survey, which is the demand side of the labor market. So you need to know the numbers from both of them. Then you need to know what is our unemployment rate, what is labor force participation rate, And because you might be asked a question on developmental issues, I'll come to developmental issues. So one of the major development issues that you will quote is India's poor female labor force participation rate. So these are issues. Then also compare it to CMIE data. So you know what CMIE is, Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. What are the numbers that they publish? Then what is unemployment rate, labor force participation rate, and worker population ratio. Then have that matrix ready of informal and formal sector, unorganized and organized sector. That matrix should be clear to you, that what is there. How much people are employed in agriculture, industry and services. That employment matrix, the same thing you should know about GVA, agriculture, industry and services. What is the GVA contribution, right? And within GDP, what is the contribution of consumption, investment, net exports and government expenditure. Everything you will get from the survey. So the GVA composition, the GDP composition. So GVA is the supply side, GDP is the demand side. Both these compositions should be ready. Then all your labor reform, labor codes, critical analysis of labor codes, why were labor laws a problem. Then with respect to this old pension scheme versus new pension scheme. Again, something with respect to labor, what we have done to formalize our sector, and there comes the EFPO subscription rate, the EPFO, the Provident Fund Organizations ratio. Just give me 1 second. My battery is draining, I guess. Battery not charged. Give me a second. Laptop will switch off any moment.
So with respect to CMIE data, generally it has been seen that
yes,
the data that government comes up with in QES,
Huh.
survey, the CMIE tends to give a different picture. For example, higher unemployment rates, which were in the interviewer tried to negate it. So is it something like CMI data is not?
So the issue is that you don't have high frequency data in employment. So even RBI considers, so you can always counter, even RBI considers CMI data while in its calculation, because we do not. Yes, there are limitations. So read about the limitations of CMI data. If you're quoting something, you should know the issue. And there is a debate between Mahesh Vyas and Jean Drèze on CMI data. What is the problem with CMI data? So if you come across that issue, if you are quoting it, you should also know the problem. But having said that, you should also say, sir, the problem is that we don't have a high frequency number with respect to, for example, we have PMI data. We have PMI services, PMI this thing, we have IIP data. We have a lot of high frequency numbers when it comes to other sectors, but we don't have a high frequency number when it comes to the labor market. And that is important in terms of policy making. So we need this figure. Maybe in the meantime the government can come up with this, but it's a substitute. It kind of gives a reflection, and it has a huge it has a huge user base in the sense that the size of CMI data is huge. But I do accept that yes, there are limitations. It's a private organization. There are limitations, and you talk about the debate between Jean Drèze and this. So then, so the idea, Pratibha, is that if you get hold of one question now, and if you know it in and out, make sure that the next 5 to 7 minutes, they are circling around your kind of area. Don't let them go anywhere else. They should know that you know this particular topic at depth, and you got them on the scruff of their neck, and then explain everything to them. This way, what will happen is, at max, you will get 8-9 questions instead of getting 15-16 questions. The moment that you go to 15-16 questions, there will be a probability that you might not get an answer, although that doesn't actually impact your marks too much, but that might hinder with your confidence. So if we get to a question, and if we know that very well, you just take them in that rabbit hole that you have prepared them for. So these are cues, these are hooks for them. You're setting up hooks for them. The moment any particular interviewer as a fish catch on to that hook, you take them to that particular rabbit hole. So that's how you should be in charge of your interview rather than the interview being in charge. You should be in control. Okay. And the other thing is, always think before answering. I've seen a lot of aspirants not thinking. So take a couple of seconds and don't have a very strict posture. I've seen people glued their hands to their thighs and then just sticking upright. So have some hand movements. have a cordial smile and smile and say thank you when someone gives you a hint to an answer. Say thank you and then proceed. So these are certain mannerisms that you should also have in your interview. Then I was talking about labor market. Labor market is done. Then developmental issues. When you're talking about developmental issues, you talk about agriculture, the problem in agriculture, the how to take out people from agriculture, how to make it more productive, doubling farmers' income, and all those issues of agriculture. Then you, since development studies is written, then you talk about manufacturing, that how we have missed the manufacturing bus, what needs to be done in manufacturing. That comes to the question of PLI. What is PLI? How is it different from the export subsidy and WTO? How is it WTO compliant? All these issues should be there. Then you also talk about labor force, how to formalize and how to make it more effective. Then developmental issues in terms of finance is very important. So how to make, how to raise resources from finance. So you say that the local governments are very important, the state governments are important. We have only restrictive power with respect to the central government. So center has only so much of funds available. It's the decentralization and the devolution of power needs to be at the local bodies. Our local bodies just contribute 5% of our GDP, and if you see advanced countries, they contribute 20% of their GDP. So we need to have those funds, functionaries and functions devolved to the local governments, make them more productive, and then raise taxes and make them more viable. So talk about that fiscal federalism. So developmental issues, you should have these list of developmental issues in a pecking order. The most important one, then the next, then the next, then the next, then the next. So 6-7 developmental issues. You have to include climate in that as well. So climate, poverty, inequality. So development issues, poverty, inequality, health, and education. So these 4, and apart from that, labor market, agriculture, industry, and all of these. Then MSMEs. You need to know everything about MSMEs, the new definition, the problem with that MSMEs face, the solution that the government has come up, the Udyam portal, the Champions portal. All of these issues needs to be very well understood. Then G20 is an area where you can be asked what is the trioca of G20, what should be the, and there will be opinion based questions, what should be the setting, what should be the key issues, global issues that the government should take forward. Then sports might be an issue, because recently a couple of countries have said that they will not they'll boycott the Olympics if Russia comes there. So have an opinion on this, that sports should be above politics. Sports is a means of peace. So and then there might be a leading question on India Pakistan. So you can always say that India Pakistan should also play. Anyways, we are playing in a plurilateral tournament. So why not bilateral tournaments? So that is there. I've already talked about fiscal things. Yes, fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, all of that is covered. Then public digital infrastructure of India, which includes your Aadhaar and your DigiLocker and your CBDC, GST is an issue that you should cover. MSMEs I've already told you. On education, foreign universities issue, that should be covered. Then since you are there with the you had interned with the Human Rights Commission, what are the violations? What are the charter? Who is the how does the Human Rights Commission work? National and International Human Rights Commission, The Hague. Why did not we sign it? Then what are the different indicators of human rights, and if there are, then why is you will see that India is sliding down on number of these indicators, worldwide ranking indicators. Why is India sliding down? So kind of defending India as well. So all of those things, issues of human rights that have been there, violation of human rights that might have been there in recent few months. So you can talk about that, and always take the benefit of constitution. So wherever you get stuck that something ethical is being asked to me, what should I say? Always go back to the constitution and say things from the constitution. That always is the right way forward. So that is there. Then favorite painters, famous painters, favorite paintings, different kinds of paintings, both from UP and from Rajasthan. So something like fard painting or scroll painting, all kinds of paintings you should be aware of. Famous painters of both these states that you should be aware of. Then meditation. What are the forms of meditation? How long have you been practicing meditation? Maybe Ayush, they can ask you Ayush alternative health on this. So these topics can be asked. I think agriculture, industry, services. Let me just check if I've left anything. Poverty, inequality, unemployment, tax structures, fiscal federalism. Oh yeah, money and banking. You should be aware of money and banking. What are the new developments in the banking industry? Then what is the difference between what you can read on IBC and SURFASI? What is the difference between IBC and SURFASI? And what are the issues with IBC right now? So NCLAD, etc. Then read upon the Adani and Hindenburg issue. What are the technical terms which are being used there? The price equity ratio and the issues with respect to regulation. What can SEBI do? What are the powers of SEBI? All these issues. Agriculture, I've already told you. Then privatization, liberalization, privatization and disinvestment and asset monetization. What is the difference between these three things? Service sector, health, education, balance of payment, I've told you. The economic issues faced by our neighbors, especially Pakistan and Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Why are they all in a state of crisis? And then international, anyways, IR you need to prepare well because of the compulsion. IR you will definitely get 2-3 questions. So be well prepared and answer like a diplomat. Make sure you answer like a diplomat. So that's why I'm saying practice a lot. Population policy, one child policy, two child policy, uniform civil code, tricky issues. You are Lohiya. Population issues, fine. SDGs, and what are our commitments? What has happened in this year's SDG summit and climate change summits? Both these summits you should know where were they held, what were the issues discussed, and the problems. Then yeah, more or less, I think since my background is from economics, so I can only give you more of economics than more of IR. So, but IR, I hope you're prepared well in IR. What else? I think that's pretty much from my side. Anything that you want to ask?
So there are a couple of questions that I want to ask. I was thinking how to answer these questions.
Yes.
So one is the issue of LIC.
Huh.
So given that and it has been doing well, so why is the government? Because this is a very pertinent question, that why is government?
So revenue generation is a problem that you talk about the fact that we are limited. We've been borrowing very heavily in the last few years. Our fiscal deficits have gone up. Our taxing capacity is limited. You talk about the Laffer curve, that you can't tax more. We are on a tax buoyancy of 1.2, and the borrowings are limited. So you talk mathematically that given our GDP, this is the taxation that we can get, direct and indirect taxes. Then the other constraint is the borrowing constraint that we have. We want to reduce that. That just leaves us with one thing, which is the non-tax receipts and the non-debt making capital receipts. So the government is trying to garner resources from there so as to bridge this fiscal deficit gap, and also having public to be a participant of this huge behemoth and make it more accountable, and the resources should also flow to the benefits of these companies should also flow to the general public, where they will save and channelize their savings. So it also helps in the process of what you call as savings more and investing more into mutual funds. So your savings and investment rates also go up because of this LIC disinvestment. So you take this kind of a ground that these are the compulsions and this is the economic logic behind it.
These are very important points because I could only think and I was not able to increase my points beyond that.
Okay.
Because I was finding more criticisms online than.
So you don't you kind of be sympathetic to the government in this respect, that we are stretched to the teeth in terms of our finances. So there is this lecture that I've given at KMC and in which I've talked about these finances. So if you see this year's budget, we are so how is the overall budget happens is that the finance minister first asks the ministries that what is going to be our current GDP. So the next year the current GDP is going to be 300 trillion rupees. Based on that 300 trillion rupees, you go with something called as tax buoyancy. That if my income increases by X, that by how much unit will my taxes increase? That is called as tax buoyancy. So given that my GDP is going to increase, my nominal GDP is going to increase by 10.5%, with a tax buoyancy of 1.2, we say that our tax resources will increase by 12%, which gives us the figure of 23 trillion rupees. So 23 trillion rupees we are going to raise from taxes. And we are restricting our fiscal deficit to 6% of GDP, which 6% of 300 is 18 trillion rupees. So we have 23 trillion rupees in terms of taxes. We have 18 trillion rupees in terms of borrowing. And then how much? And if we have more expenditure, then how do we kind of finance that expenditure? It's only through non-tax and disinvestments that we can do. So that is where the government's limited ability to raise resources or to borrow kind of brings into picture of LIC, and LIC has huge market capitalization, and you need more savings into the financial sector, and then you need that investment to happen. So therefore this is the way forward that the government has taken. So you give that economic logic, you give that depth into economic logic, and they'll appreciate it.
So the second question is with regards to you. As you rightly pointed out that India's ranking has been going down in different indicators, whether it is Press Information Index or other such indices, because there's no one such human rights index.
Yes.
So I've been asked this question multiple times forward. That one, that it is true that the huge amount of population and there has been human rights violations, but these indices have not taken into consideration the actions taken. For example, setting up of an HRC or the work done by various institutions or Supreme Court intervention. So sir, but this kind of answer I've not found very satisfactory when it comes to panelists and their opinion. Other could be the reasons.
So you can talk about that. You can talk in terms of economics. So a lot of this resources, for example, because of the population pressure and the resources, limited amount of resources, there has been division between people on the same kind of resources. So you get you are flaring up issues with respect to human rights in terms of religion. That people, that's the same land and people are kind of eyeing places on that. Or you can think of strains that are there. It's a challenging question. There's a point that came to my mind right now. One is you can talk about the negative role of social media here. That what has happened. So these divisions were still earlier also there, but I think that the flare up happens because of the negative sentiment that is created by social media and the fake news that happens. Emotion gets enraged very quickly because of social media, and I think that there should be a check on this thing, fake news and news which kind of excites emotions, and as well as regulation on news channels, because that their reporting is also at times biased. So I mean there should be a check on this. So that is that. Then I think judiciary needs to take up these issues ASAP. I mean as soon as there is this violation, it should be taken up immediately, as maybe a day in a court, or a particular day every week should be addressed to all these issues that are there. in various courts, that any human right violation case. But also think about suo moto powers are there with National Human Rights Commission. So you can think of the fact that are they weak or not, how to strengthen them, how to strengthen state human rights this thing councils, and even districts. You can talk about some district level initiatives could be there under the district magistrate and the police. So these issues, and then then sensitizing people with respect to human rights. And I think that education is one of the issues where human right issues are often violated. So long term, these are long term issues, long term solutions, but short term solutions are these. And the law and order should be law and order, and the judicial machinery should be quick enough so that there's immediate redressal. But having said that, with the huge population base that we have, it's a huge challenge for any government to tackle these issues. So you can talk about these things, that why is this, and why is it more prominent now as compared to earlier. So that could be one thing.
And another major topic that you had also pointed out about formalizing the informal sector. So because my course itself was
labor
based in Center for Informal, answering it from an but how can we make it more impactful, answering this kind of informal sector?
So you talk about the fact that first give numbers. How much is informal, and you need to know the difference between informal and unorganized. They are not the same. So you need to know what is informal, what is formal, what is unorganized, what is organized. You need to know these differences, 4 differences. Then you need to know exactly what is informal, how many people are there in informal. Then you talk about the transformation in the economy. So transformation at multiple fronts. Within the rural areas, you want a transformation within the rural areas from the informal sector to the formal sector. So there should be more formal rural jobs. So you don't want to pull people out of rural areas and to urban areas. So transformation within the rural areas, within agriculture, there could be formalization. For example, moving from typical that informal sector to say something like fisheries, something like organized FPOs, make it more Amul-like model. So FPO models, then your self-help groups, formalized self-help groups model, cooperative models. So you need a formal sector within the within the rural setting. Within agriculture and non-agriculture, you need that formalization. But having said that, you don't want to pull these people out of the rural areas and to urban areas because the infrastructure issues are there. Then the other area is manufacturing. How do we increase people in manufacturing? You need to skill people. So skilling is skilling, and most importantly, vocational skilling is very important. That we need to focus the next at least the decade should be focused on skilling people and vocationally skilling people in areas where we can have them in manufacturing and low skill manufacturing, where we can generate employment, and our labor laws and other laws should be such that the MSMEs can grow from these micro units to medium unit to small units to medium units. Right now 95% of your units are micro units. There are these incentives. You need to give them incentives to grow. So that kind of measure should be there. And then again, the labor laws should be such that they should be very easy and while at the same point protect the workers, but do not kind of hinder in terms of employment of these folks. So that is the formalization. And then the services sector can have its own way of formalization. For example, tourism is one area where they can do well. Just give me 1 second. हाँ बोलो. हाँ बस आ गया मैं 1 minute में आ गया. Yes. So within services sector, where you can get this formalization in terms of education, in terms of your tourism sector or gig industries. Can you have some kind of a model where even the gig industry workers are kind of given some kind of a state formalization? So the state also needs to give some kind of formal recognition to gig workers. So we need those issues to be addressed as well.
It's provided me with a framework of how I can actually approach different questions. If I look at this question, I was answering more in the terms of what government is coming up. For example, they're trying to come up with reservation policies for their locals, stop migration, expand, and how the labor codes have been trying to.
But these are micro. You are talking about just micro things. We need to look at the entire canvas.
So therefore, this answer, like, it helped me broaden my understanding. This is how I must approach, and it gives this perspective.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying that structure your answer well. I mean, and it looks and it should feel clarity, that you have clarity of thought. And even if you don't answer 30% of the questions, don't worry about it. Don't grin or don't get disheartened. This interview is not about your facts. Your facts have already been checked. You are in the top 5 percentile. It's just how can you get into that 200 marks. The moment that you get 200 rank, we are assured that you're getting into the first 200 ranks, or at least the first, or 150 200 ranks, and then you will be secure. So our target is 200 marks. That is what I expect out of you. So, and you have what I have seen here, you have the caliber to have 200 marks, if not 220. So this is my expectation out of you, and I think if you approach it well, and if you've done your homework well with respect to what I've said and IR, which is not my forte, I think you will do well. Okay. I hope this has been helpful.
Your classes, interaction with you, it's like
you've been coming in the morning sessions.
So initially I joined for a week or two, and then I started feeling drowsy by the afternoon. And considering that my interview is in the afternoon. Then I started joining your classes and then falling asleep, and then waking up at 8 o'clock again, and then continuing with my day. It's
okay. After your interview, you join back again. Okay. And don't forget after you get selected. No, that's not a long dream. That's just that's not even 2 months now. April end, you will get the result. So it's 1.5 months now, 45 days. I hope to see you as an officer, and the next interview that we are going to have one-on-one is going to be that interview where you'll be a selected officer, and then you'll be showering praise on me. The tables would have to be reversed. So I'm trying to expand this particular initiative. So I need people who really do well and who find that mental health aspect is very important in this.
I had suffered from that issue. I think.
Yeah. So everyone went through this hellhole. I mean, and that's what I'm trying to change. This entire that ghetto that they have created in Rajendra Nagar and in Mukherjee Nagar. I'm trying to get people rid of those ghettos and think positively and have a build confidence in themselves and then go for this exam. So I hope you clear this exam, and I have very high expectations of you, and I really think that you are a 200 plus material. Because I've seen at least 20 candidates now, 26, 27 candidates. And you are in the top 1-2 candidates that I've seen. So just be confident, just smile there and let me know how your interview goes. And within this time span, if you need anything, just give me a call. Don't think about whether you're disturbing me or not. I'll clear up my schedule for you.
And sir, just one more question.
Yes.
So I was filling my attestation form.
Yes.
So I had worked for last year.
Okay.
So I joined an MSc because civil services I thought was not working out.
Okay.
And then as soon as I joined, the results came in, and then I for the mains.
Okay.
So sir, I did not get my relieving letter from that
organization.
Company
Yes.
until I filled my DAF. So sir, I had not filled that whether I was employed.
Okay.
So now in attestation form, where they are asking all the details again of employment status and all. So sir, should I give that information? If you
get that relieving letter, then you can fill it up. Have you got the relieving letter? Then you can mention. Okay, all the best, Pratibha, and see you on the other side. Bye.